So what's up? This your man, the STL Stranger, the Prince of Provel, the Correctifier, Omar Ali. And I just want to talk to y'all about the big fight. 90,000 fans, Wembley Stadium, London, England, Anthony Joshua against Vladimir Klitschko. Before I start this video, allow me to toot my own horn that if you go to my Twitter account, go to the article I posted on Medium, the fight played out as I predicted. Now, because I get so many predictions wrong in boxing, I need to toot my own horn when I get one right. And what do you mean by getting it right? I said that I believe that Joshua would get tested early, may get hurt early, that he'd never been against someone with the skill level of Vladimir Klitschko, but that eventually, Father Time is undefeated. The younger man, the stronger man would prevail. He would hurt Klitschko in the mid to late rounds, hurt him and stop him, and that's exactly what happened. The fight pretty much went as I saw it going. And again, I'm no, I get fights wrong a lot, so I'm going. I thought that uh, Triple G would stop Danny Jacobs. I said that fight would be as competitive and a good fight for as long as it lasts, but I thought he would be stopped. So when I get something right, I do like to toot my own horn. Now, let me first talk about the 90,000 fans that were there. And look, we have to recognize that we all I grew up with, in the 80s and 90s, that the United States of America dominated the heavyweight division. You're talking about the 20th century with some small interruptions. The United States dominated the heavyweight division. And there was an old article, I believe, in Sports Illustrated called Joe Paterno ruined the heavyweight division. And I believe, because of the general weakness of the amateur system today as compared to it was in the 70s and 80s and even in the 90s, the amateur system here has weakened. Guys used to have to fight 10 or 12 times to get into the finals of New York City Golden Gloves. In St. Louis, they would be fighting, 4 or 5, 6 times to get into the Golden Gloves finals. And now you got guys getting into the finals sometimes without fighting at all or fighting once or twice. So we just don't have the talent level that we used to have in the amateur system. And then when you get into the heavier weights, those athletes are going towards a football and basketball in hopes of getting to the NFL or the NBA or college scholarships. We don't have scholarships to offer in boxing. All those things, all the combat sports deal with this. Wrestling deals with this as well. So there's been a weakness in our amateur system. In the meantime, the collapse of the Soviet Union. So all those old Eastern blocs and Soviet republics, for those that are old to remember, they didn't used to fight professionally. They were career amateurs. Well, now they're going into the professional ranks. Of course, we see the Klitschko brothers, Triple G, Lomachenko, and even going back Kostazul, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been since the Soviet collapse, we've seen this proliferation of fighters from the former Soviet bloc. In the meantime, the UK boxing scene is just off the charts. It used to be when I was a kid, you would see an American versus a British, and you would laugh. You're like, "Come on, man!" I mean, the British opponent was seen as weak. Not the case anymore. There's parity between England and the United States, and I would even argue that the English amateur system right now is stronger than that in the United States of America. I don't like to say that as an American. I do not like that reality, but I think that is the reality we have today, that the English system today is stronger than the American system, the amateur system, which reflects in the pros. So we get Joshua and Klitschko, and we have one American belt holder heavyweight, Deontay Wilder. But again, getting into fans, 80,000 were in Wembley for Carl Froch versus George Groves in 2014. Was it 15? Anyway, a couple years ago, 90,000 Klitschko versus Anthony Joshua. Deontay Wilder has never drew more than 12,000 fans. I believe you could give out tickets for free and Deontay Wilder couldn't draw 90,000. If Deontay Wilder versus Vladimir Klitschko was in the United States of America, I don't believe that fight could sell out Madison Square Garden. I don't believe it could sell out Barclays. I don't believe it could sell out T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. You know, maybe it can sell out in Birmingham, Alabama, but why would, you just can't hold a world-class event in Birmingham, Alabama. That's the reality. On a regular basis, the UK, they're selling out arenas for boxing shows. And in America, unless you're talking about Saul Canelo Alvarez or maybe Bud Crawford in his hometown of Omaha, Nebraska, or now Triple G's become a fan attraction, you're just talking about boxing crowds are not that big. A lot of empty seats at fights, a lot of small ticket demand. Um, that's the reality. It's unfortunate, but I see boxing is a much healthier sport in the UK than it is in the United States. Now, I hope Joshua comes to America, but the question is, why would he come to America when he's drawing 90,000? There has to be some great financial incentive, and his promoter Hearn will do this to get him to come to the United States, whether it's for Deontay Wilder, which is a fight I want to see, or Shannon Briggs, a fight I don't want to see, or anyone else. When you're drawing 90,000, you're making millions of dollars. Why are you going to come to New York or Vegas unless there's really something into it? Because they're not going to sell out a football stadium in America. That's not going to happen. Now, moving on to the fight itself, I thought the first 3 rounds, they started out slow, and I think Vladimir was just. I think they had the idea they wanted to take Joshua to the deep waters because he'd never been past the 7th round. So Vladimir was really pacing himself, and I thought that Joshua did well the first 3 rounds. Just he was more active, and the fight really began in the 4th round. And both fighters landed some shots in the 4th round. Joshua won the 4th round, and the 5th round is maybe the round of the year. Joshua, and there was a pattern in this fight. Fighters going with big lead shots early in the round, trying to stun their opponents early. This happened in several rounds in this fight. Joshua hurts Klitschko. Klitschko goes down. We've seen the Lehman Brewster fight. We've seen the Ross Purdy fight. We've seen the Corey Sanders fight. And at that point, everybody's okay. It's over because every time Klitschko got hurt in the past, he folded. Not the case. Joshua, I scored up around 10-9 because Vladimir rallied and it looked like Joshua may not even finish the round. If Vladimir could have lined up the right shot, I believe he might have been able to stop Joshua in the 5th round. That's how badly hurt he was. So come out in the 6th round, Joshua still hasn't recovered. He gets dropped. And again, Vladimir, I think he didn't want to punch himself out. He loaded up on some big shots and didn't land. I believe if he would have connected with any of them, he could have possibly stopped the fight. But I think he measured himself and paced him. I think in retrospect, I think he wished he would have put his foot on the gas and maybe try to get Joshua out in the 6th round. But hindsight is 20/20. And then you look around, 7 and 8. I think Vladimir controls 7th and 8th. I believe I gave him the 9th round too. And then the 10th round, Joshua reasserts himself, lands some good shots, and then the 11th gets him out of there. Very good heavyweight fight. The best heavyweight fight in the years. Best heavyweight fight I've seen in a long time. An all-time great. No, it's not as good as any of the Riddick Bowe versus Evander Holyfield fights. Not as good as Ali Frazier fights, George Foreman, Jimmy Young, Ali Norton. Or I'd even say Larry Holmes versus Tim Witherspoon, Bone Crusher Smith, those types of fights. So not an all-time great fight, but it's a good. It was on Ike Iwabuchi and David Tua. So there's certainly been better heavyweight fights, but since we've been used to seeing terrible heavyweight fights, Klitschko fights, which kind of boring and plotting. Tyson Fury versus Vladimir, which was a very dull fight, one of the most boring fights I've ever seen in my life. In comparison, this was a great fight, and it was a good fight. I just want to say it's a great fight. It's not an all-time great, but the best heavyweight fight we've seen in years, and an entertaining bout. Um, Regarding the coverage, in America, Showtime showed it live, and HBO showed the rebroadcast. I would give Showtime slightly higher marks. Mauro Ranallo, I think, brings a freshness to the game. I think he did a great job. Al Bernstein, Paulie Malignaggi did a good job. HBO, I think the Lampley, Max Kellerman, Roy Jones, they did a good job too. I wouldn't give them a thumbs down. I just say that the Showtime crew seems fresher, maybe because they're showing more fights and they're just. I just thought that the Showtime broadcast was slightly better than the HBO. Never thought I'd say that. Obviously, historically, that's not been the case, but I think that's the case today. Um, and I hope both of them throw some money at Joshua, trying to get him to America. Um, the guys themselves, look, I had lunch with the Klitschko brothers in New York years ago, Vladimir and Vitaly, and we sat and talked about politics, economics, healthcare, society, Russian history, Ukrainian history, World War II. Um, Smart guys, good guys, perfect gentlemen. Of course, Vitaly is the mayor of Kiev now in Ukraine, and they're engaged in a conflict with Russia and Donetsk and in Crimea and other parts in the eastern part of the country. He's a major political figure, and he may be running for president one day. Very smart guy, and Vladimir is a very smart guy and a gentleman. I asked him to write a letter to Ukrainian prisoner Oleg Kizmiznikov, a friend of mine. They wrote Oleg, and even Vladimir wanted to visit him. So great guy, super guy, and you see how he handled the defeat with absolute class. And I would like to see a rematch. It was a good first bout. Maybe the second bout will be better. Maybe it won't, but I definitely am interested in seeing a rematch. And we know Vladimir still has some gas left in the tank. As far as Anthony Joshua, he handled himself like a perfect gentleman. I think he's a great ambassador for the sport. He looks good. He looks like a heavyweight champion. He's in England where there's a strong boxing culture now, which has really become the leader of the boxing world. Again, as an American, I hate to say it, but that's kind of the reality we're at today. So I think Joshua winning and Joshua being a heavyweight champion is really, it's good for the sport of boxing. And we'll see what he can do with it. Um, he represents London, a great global city, and England, which is reclaiming its place as a leader in the boxing world. So I would love to go over there and see a big fight in England. Go to Lords, check out some cricket, go catch a big soccer match, and after years of listening to BBC World Service Radio, I have a thing for the sexy English accent. So I'd love to get over there across the pond. I've been many years. Um, who will they fight next? I was disappointed that Joshua called out Shannon Briggs. I mean, he's like 50 years old. No one wants to see that fight. We want to see him fight Parker. We want to see him fight Deontay Wilder, and we want to see the Klitschko rematch. And I would favor Anthony Joshua in all three bouts by stoppage. For Vladimir, I'd like to see the rematch with Fury. Excuse me. What the hell is it? I'd like to see the rematch with Joshua. I think Fury, obviously it's a big fight in the UK. You could probably sell out Wembley. Not a fight I'm particularly interested in seeing because Fury's like a Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. type of figure. Doesn't take the sport seriously. Hard for me to take your career seriously when you don't take it yourself. I also think Joshua knocks him out. Uh, Big fight for the UK, so we might see it. I definitely don't want to see a Tyson Fury Vladimir rematch. If Vladimir's not fighting Joshua, I'd like to see him retire, go ahead and live the good life, whether he wants to live in Hollywood with his wife or join Vitaly in politics in Ukraine or go back to Germany, whatever he wants to do. Great career, made a lot of money. Hall of Famer. I think in America we disrespect Vladimir. He is an all-time great. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He definitely had an era, the Klitschko brothers era, and they're two Hall of Famers, two greats. Maybe not as being that like aesthetically pleasing to watch, like a Tyson, like a Holyfield, like a Bo, like a Ali, a Frazier, a Foreman, a Sonny Liston, a Floyd Patterson, Joe Louis, but dominated the division. Two Hall of Famers. So that's pretty much how I see it. Those are the fights I'd like to see them in. Again, it was a great event. Looking forward to this weekend. Saul Canelo Alvarez, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., and for boxing to be dead, 90,000 seats in Wembley on Saturday. The biggest sporting event in the world last weekend was Joshua-Klitschko, number one trending on Twitter, and Saturday will be the biggest sporting event in Mexico, going through the wall. Chavez Canelo. I'll talk about that later. Peace.